What's up, Minnesota Viking fans? We are not dead. We are here. Thank you for joining the Purple People podcast. It's been a minute. It's kind of a slow part of the off season, gearing up for this new thing coming up, but we're glad to be back. My name is Kyle Smith. I am joined by Adam Carlson. How are you, sir?
Ayo. I am doing okay. Been running the AC a little bit so far already. Been a little
Nice.
warm up this way.
Summer's creeping in, man. We had it the other day. Strings of 80-degree plus days in a row. It's right around the corner. And you guys both have fancy background. I love both of them.
Yeah, but he's
The
got a nice
office
green screen
background.
so his doesn't do this hair clipping that mine's doing.
Yeah, but I appreciate the office reference that you got going on down there. So you definitely won
Yeah.
on the style points with that one, Adam.
Oh yeah, big fan.
Kyle West is at TCO Performance Center. He's going to give
Yeah,
us a live update.
I stole the keys to TCO Performance Center. I'm in their studio right now. I've also been in the office areas, and I know an update on Dalvin Cook. I'm kidding, none of that's true. At 10 years in, I bought a green screen.
That's
I used to
hilarious.
just
I would
hang like a
ask
green
you.
blanket behind me,
Yeah,
and it would work pretty well.
this is a big monstrous thing that attaches to the back of my chair. That
Uh,
is, it's gigantic, but that's okay.
It's you're not really there. I would ask you to take like a pen or something from me, just something to inconvenience somebody up there taking notes.
Just erase
That's what I would
everything on a
take.
whiteboard somewhere.
Yeah. I did not get this prepared. This is episode 521. I'm going to write this up here, but it's called Cookin with Gas. And we were going to talk about Dalvin Cook because that seemed to be the hot topic. I think it's been, and I'll just lead off, I think it's all but done and has been the writing on the wall. And I'm not going to steal your points, Kyle. I'm just going to alley-oop them up to you. But with Alexander investing the money that he did, and it's not a rumor, it's actually out there, many people saying the Vikings were shopping Dalvin Cook. He said earlier this year, after the season was over, I'm not taking a pay cut. The Vikings said, okay, well, we might not keep you. And the draft came around. We thought something would happen then. Nothing came out. Then we start looking at spot track. We're looking at contracts and how it's going to work for the team, how it's going to work for him. Post June 1st, the Vikings would save some money there. And it hasn't happened yet. I get it that, with the world and the way it works now, especially with social media, you want it done. Well, it's 12:01 on June 2nd. Dalvin Cook's still a Viking. What the hell? Okay. But also, kind of like, I don't want us to go into training camp with this still being an issue. So I'm sure it'll come up soon. But I would just like your guys' thoughts on the Dalvin Cook situation. I personally don't see him playing for us in September. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, with the instant gratification that we live in as a society today, like when you hear post June 1st, they're gonna do something with Dalvin Cook, we're thinking literally on June 1st by like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we're gonna have info on that. Post June 1st means post June 1st.
Yeah.
Anytime after June 1st. There's not necessarily a big hurry to do movement on this. I think all the points we've made, they still stand about Dalvin Cook. He's a dynamic player. He's done a lot of good for this team. I don't want to pay him the contract that they're currently have him under. I think that they have invested too many pieces and parts, whether it be re-signing Madison, draft picks, etc., to continue to keep him around. Because I feel like they've already got the process going to replace him, and this team is further than a Dalvin Cook away from winning a Super Bowl. So let's see what the younger guys that we've invested and brought in can do for this offense, and that means Dalvin Cook has to go. We all would have liked to have gotten some draft picks, some capital, maybe another player for him. That's not going to happen, so I think that you just have to rip the band-aid off and release him, let him go out into the wild, and he can sign with Miami, he can sign with the Jets, he can do whatever, and let's just part ways with Dalvin Cook.
To me, this is a weird situation because, to me, this has almost nothing to do with Dalvin Cook himself at this point. It's the front office, and they still have quite a few things they need to get off their plate before they can really focus on the upcoming season. On offense, it is the Dalvin Cook situation right now that is the tough part of everything, looking at the way things are going. And they've also got to be a little bit looking at down the road here because KJ Osborne is entering his final season with the Vikings. And I believe other teams could be looking at him as a potential number 2, and that's something the Vikings can't offer. So the Vikings have a lot of things they really need to figure out. On defense, I mean, Danielle Hunter, we still don't know what's going on with him. And then you got the other side of the pass rush, which is going to be Davenport this year, which, as I outlined in my recent article over on the Viking Age, I don't see a situation where that signing leads to anything really great for the Vikings. And if he does well, he signs somewhere else for a mega contract. And if he doesn't do well, the Vikings paid $13 million for a guy that didn't play well. I mean, there's no real winning in that situation. So right now the Vikings have to be looking at this whole thing as a series of events that need to happen before they get to the regular season. And this is just one domino in the line.
Right. And where do you rank, like, if you're the Vikings GM, you're the Vikings brass, like, you have to have a priority list. And so we know they're working on a contract for Justin Jefferson. Where do you rank that versus figuring out what you're doing with Dalvin Cook versus Danielle Hunter?
And then you got to add in all the debate over what to do at quarterback, because that's all anyone wants to talk about with the Vikings is, if Kirk Cousins goes, who's coming in.
Right. This entire fan base is like ready to move on from Kirk right now. I think you're planning for the future, but I don't think that's imminent. But that's something that's on your list of priorities. Clearly, as we'll talk about them making some other moves at the quarterback position later on in the episode.
So yeah, this is just one in a line of issues that the Vikings really have to work out, because it's a really troublesome time for this franchise that making the wrong decision could lead to a lot of loss of assets or time, or maybe even, I won't say competing now, because I don't believe the Vikings front office is looking at this roster and saying, we have a team that this team should go to the Super Bowl. I don't think the Vikings are saying that. I think they're saying we're working towards our vision for the future and we're rebuilding, but we don't want to completely wipe everything. We want to be a competitive rebuild to where they can at least challenge for the division or come close to having a winning record, because, of course, as I've said on the show before too, we've got a new GM and a new head coach that are in there, and they would like to stick around for a few extra years.
Well, and I had heard, and again, this is a point that I think needs to be brought up a little more often among Vikings fans. We don't do it enough. That you got to remember that Kevin O'Connell got his start in the NFL underneath Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And one of the things that's kind of came out is that O'Connell really wants to install that winning culture in Minnesota. That's why it was important to him to go out and to, hey, we're going to bring a lot of the veteran players back his first year, and we're gonna win a bunch with them, and we're gonna prove that we can win in Minnesota. And so you're right, Adam. That's why I don't think that they're never going to intentionally tank like some fans want them to do. As much as maybe you could benefit from having that top 3 draft pick and getting that one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in a draft class, I don't think the Vikings are willing to do that.
I want to jump in and get some points to this. It's a tree branch of Vikings talk, and it could go several ways. But the Dalvin Cook situation, I'm agreeing with you guys. I don't think it's the main priority. I want Justin Jefferson happy more than anything. And I don't think Dalvin Cook is the missing piece to make that happen. Now, does it help? Sure, it can help in a small way to Danielle Hunter, who is underpaid and who should probably get a little more money. I'd like to see him stay too, because he's been pretty good for us. The Kirk Cousins thing, we'll talk about that in a little bit because it's funny. Just the three different directions that you could go with that. But for the Dalvin thing, I'm going to take one of Kyle's points. I'm not going to steal it, but I want to talk about it because it's a great point. The Vikings have invested so much in the running back position, albeit this is smaller currency. Obviously, if we look at the first round as a $100 bill, once you go down to the 50s, to the 20s, and the 10s, and the 5s, and the later rounds, they're as much invested as they were in Dalvin Cook and others. But all those cumulative picks that you have for other guys add up to the 100. Bryce here. We know Keenan is a great returner. I don't know what he does in between, the tackles. Ty Chandler is still on the roster. CJ Ham is here. You got to check out what you have there. Yeah, I mentioned him first.
That's the thing, too, is that you said a really excellent talking point of, well, you don't know what they can do between the lines. And you won't know until they're given the opportunity to do that. And you can't justify giving them that opportunity while you've got Dalvin Cook on the roster. It's an interesting position for the team to be in.
And I don't think preseason is really enough to test that.
No, it's not. It's not.
It never is. They're going to know more watching them. And obviously, this is not news to anyone. This is how NFL teams figure out their depth. But I'm firmly with you, Kyle, on that. They need to see what they have. You may have a gem that you don't know about. And let's not forget that little thing we talked about 3 or 4 times in the offseason since. It circulated Twitter a lot, and it's a good stat to have. The Vikings don't have Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, have that kind of quarterback. We have Kirk, who's good, not great. He's what he is, and that's fine. I'm fine with him for now. But the Super Bowl winning team since the 2009 Saints, the starting running back doesn't get paid more than $2.5 million. The overwhelming majority is under that. It's like $1.5 million to $1 million. Sometimes it's in the 100,000s. I realize how prolific Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes are.
Right.
But they had like a 7th rounder starting for them. Who they draft a couple years ago, Edwards-Helaire or whoever, they're already ready to move on from him. They don't care. And it's not that he's a terrible player. And that's kind of why I like Kevin O'Connell so much is they're going to progressively forward to how the NFL – that Jordan Addison pick this year shows you the state of this team. They're like, no, this is an offense-driven league because defense is bad. All things considered with people leaving and how bad they ranked last year, that speaks statements to what they're trying to do. Being with Dalvin Cook, would I like him to stay? Sure. But I don't think he can anymore. When you dedicate the money to Alexander Madison there, it wouldn't matter if Dalvin Cook came back and played for $100,000. You've already given the guy this chance. And let's not forget, Alexander Madison's coming up on, if it hasn't already happened, this dude, maybe I'm saying this now and should have looked further into it, but he's not like a second-year player. He's been in the league a couple of years. So he may be the guy going forward. And if you bring Dalvin Cook back, I think it's kind of like that Brett Favre situation when he retired, and then 3 months into training camp, he's like, or into the offseason, he's like, hey, I want to come back. Dude, we're already committed to this guy. You can't come back. Sorry.
I had heard that, you go back to the beginning of the offseason and, Dalvin Cook was pretty hard fast on, I am not going to take a pay cut. I want basically out of Minnesota. And you're forward a couple months, and I think he's learned that, the market, the trade market for running backs is non-existent. And other teams are just, they're not willing to pay that contract that he's got. And so all of a sudden, over the past couple weeks, you've heard a little more rumblings that maybe Dalvin Cook is a little more inclined to stay in Minnesota. And so that's an interesting scenario to unfold too. Ultimately, I think the Vikings hold the real cards here because we know they're not going to pay him his current contract. And so It's release him, or if you really want to stay, you really are going to take a massive pay cut to stay in Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know how he does with the commitment they have to Madison. That money that he got paid, whether you say starter money is, looking at Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley or Nick Chubb or whoever.
Right.
But they committed more because he was clearly the running back number 2. But giving him more money and the deal that he got specifically, it kind of shows you like, no, you're going to be the dude now. And I think it can be more of a committee, but he'll be the guy that's featured. But I don't know in my heart of hearts how you commit to Allen or Madison like that and say, oh, no, Cook can come back. That's going to create a little bit of drama. And I kind of want this gone before they start training camp.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hoping it was going to be today, honestly. I'm one of the Twitter guys we're talking about. But long story short, yeah, I don't know how it works. I feel like it would just be better for both parties. And it sucks because Dalvin had an okay year last year. He's fine. He did his job. But it just doesn't what's up from LA? What's up, dude? Yeah, it sucks because with the way this offense is now, it's not going to highlight him to where you're going to have a ton of hitters, even though he did his job pretty well. If this was 2 years ago, I think he would get very good compensation for him. But now I don't know if he's going to get a trade offer. I feel like if they got a sixth,
no, he's not.
Thrown in their lap, they would have taken it by now. And I don't know that they've gotten that.
No one is trading anything for Cook because at this point, every other team knows that he's.
On a side note, why does the Vikings huddle logo behind West make me want a Snickers?
Because it kind of looks like a Snickers bar, don't it? I think every other team knows that he's going to be released. So why would you even give a sixth?
If you do give it, only be something low so that you can acquire his rights. There'd have to be a team where you would think that he wouldn't want to go, because hasn't Dalvin Cook already said that he's open to going to Miami and Buffalo? Were those the two you named?
Yeah.
The issue here is that Minnesota does need to figure out a way to alleviate some of that pressure off the salary cap prices for the running back position, because that isn't a position you can just pour money in anymore. Especially when your running back isn't absolutely just a monster anymore. Don't get me wrong, Cook had a decent season last year, and what do you have, injuries in both shoulders, wearing harnesses on both? Or something like that. But, I mean, this Vikings front office, we've already seen what they're willing to do with some of these guys that have contracts that are a little bit too big for their britches. And, they're cleaning the house right now, trying to figure out how to get this team the way they want it. And they want to lock down guys like Justin Jefferson, who they know are the face of the future.
Agreed.
Right.
And that's a good turning point to like the other stuff I wanted to talk about too, because you got to keep Justin Jefferson happy. I'm assuming, and this is just how, I don't care, unless he wins a Super Bowl, I don't see how Kirk would come back next year. We kind of know what he is. And this is from my buddy Justin from Purple and Gold for Days. Y'all go check his YouTube channel and Twitter out and all that stuff, because this is a great one he made today on a base on Twitter. But saying facts about Kirk Cousins, it doesn't make me a hater. These two guys here will tell you, when we got him back in 2018, I talked a lot of shit about him. And then over the years, coming around saying, hey, look, I want our quarterback to win and succeed because I'm a fan of the team. He's going to come and go. I don't know how long he's going to be here. But my point being, we can take care of Justin Jefferson. And this has nothing to do with the Cook thing. This is going forward with the finances. Because Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, they absorbed a shit show of finances for this team. And they fixed it.
They really did.
They're not going to fix it in 1 year. They're going into year two. They're trying to clear the shelves so they can restock it how they like. My point being is, when we go into this and we see Justin Jefferson taken care of, that locks him into this team for years. Well, what better thing would a young, shiny new quarterback need next year if we draft one than the number one receiver in the NFL being like, I'm here for like 4 more years at least. Like, we can do this. TJ Hawkinson, a good security blanket. Things like that. All this will fall into place. And we can talk about the Kirk situation too. We can kind of roll into that if you want. But I'm excited because once he gets locked down and Jefferson's happy, I'm happy as a fan because he's done nothing but ascend every year. And this is not biased because I'm a Vikings fan. I think he's the best receiver in the NFL. And you got to keep that guy here. You got to lock it down. Give him a 5-year deal and be like, here's the check, man. You tell us what it is.
I think in terms of the best receiver in the NFL, there's a very small group of about 3 or 4 players that you can put in that same pool, and it just kind of depends on the situational football as to maybe which one is the best, but they're all so damn close. And yeah, Jefferson is right up in there with your Cooper Kupps of the league for your best player out there.
Yeah, I think you could argue back and forth as to whether it's him or Devontae Adams still.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure. This is a good question in the chat. Damon asks, would you trade Hunter for a first if it means you could trade high enough to get a top quarterback next season? I love Drake May and Caleb, what's his name, out of USC. The problem with this question is I don't see Danielle Hunter getting a first from anyone.
Yeah, if they could get a first, you kind of gotta jump at that.
You absolutely do. You can get a pass rusher in round 2 or 3 easily, but I don't think Hunter's value is a first. I think, honestly, you're going to get lowballed for guys like that unless they're on a rookie deal. Like even the guy
unless
that
the
I
team
thought
acquiring Hunter gets what Hunter is set to be paid this year, I don't think a first is going to be something that's going to work out there.
I'd be curious to look up how old was Jared Allen when Minnesota traded for him and compare that to where Danielle Hunter is at in his stage of his career. Because and the reason why I would bring that up is that, like, Vikings acquired Jared Allen and they gave up a pretty penny to get him, but he was coming into the prime of his career, and I know Danielle Hunter is still he's younger, but he's also.
But Jared Allen was also coming off multiple legal issues.
Well, that too, but it'd just be interesting to compare, where they were.
I'm gonna look it up. You guys keep going on that.
And if you think that Hunter, are his best years ahead of him or behind him, I think that kind of determines where he's at with his.
And I think all three of us here agree that Hunter was more effective as a hand in the dirt defensive end than he was as a stand-up outside linebacker.
I am super curious how Brian Flores will use him, because I seem to think that there's going to be less. We're running a 3-4 or a 4-3, and more of, like you said, Adam. Hey, Danielle Hunter, you're good at rushing the quarterback, so go. You're going to do that this season.
It was really interesting last year when the defense was putting Hunter up at the line with the hand in the dirt like he used to do back in the day, because it was kind of like admitting that they couldn't get him to work in what they wanted to do. It's a weird step backwards or sideways.
He would have been 26 or 27 when he was traded
to Minnesota.
Yeah, he would have been 26 or 27. He was born in 82. He was drafted in 2004, so I'm assuming he was 22 when he got in the league. So he had been right around that contract year,
Yeah, so how old's Danielle Hunter?
Wait, I'm older than Jared Allen? What the hell?
What's crazy, too? They had his total number of sacks up there. He's 1.5 on John Randall. John Randall had 137.5, and Jared Allen finished with 136. Jesus, man. Here's where I'd argue with you, Damon, just because we're spitballing here. Premier edge rusher, sure. You got to remember the tweak, and then you got to remember year before last, he tore his pec, and he's older. Now, if this was Danielle Hunter before that tweak year, where he's like on the fast track and had 50 sacks out of nowhere to start his career, absolutely. The problem with this is, and this idea that you probably get a first with him, and this is my opinion, why would they go get a guy when they could get someone for cheap in the draft in round 2? You got to think he's a third-round pick. You can always get younger and cheaper, maybe possibly strike gold. But I understand outside of passing the football and a quarterback, the second thing, and this is an old Colin Cowherd saying, I'm stealing it, but I believe it's true. First thing you got to do is get a quarterback. Second thing you got to do is go get somebody to beat up everybody else's quarterback. It's a premier position, but I don't know that I'd put his value that high. I think we could probably.
And once Darius got hurt, let's be honest, both he and Hunter kind of disappeared last season. The sack numbers and
they really did.
Pressure totals just kind of fell down, and I don't know if he would be as effective in a lot of situations. I think a team could succeed in him in a lot of ways, but it would be a kind of specific scenario he'd have to go to really be successful. And I don't know what teams out there would be willing to invest that kind of capital or would be close enough to get things like that done.
Yeah, and this is my opinion, but like I said, I think most teams now they'd rather try to have 3 or 4 years to develop a dude and then strike gold and try to get it that way versus okay, you're getting a little older, you have some injuries. Yeah, we know you can do this, but maybe it won't fit here, whatever. With they love the intrigue of a young player and especially if it's a first round pick, you get 5th-year option. It's kind of a no brainer to try it out, but it's just my opinion. It could be wrong. I like
So
the
a
faith
17
in
game season, what do you guys consider to be a premier sack number for an edge rusher? Are we still talking like 7-8 sacks is a really good year?
I'm gonna bump it up to like 12 or 13.
I was gonna say more like 10 or 11.
If you're at the top of your game year in year out,
shifted upwards.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it year in year out, it's gonna be at least 12 or 13, in my opinion, because you got to think it's just like the running back thing, like 1,000-yard season. Like, yeah, we break that down. It's 59 yards a game. That's not that much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't expect you to get a sack every game. Sometimes you get lucky in a game, you get 2.5, and then you can kind of stretch it out. But I need you to be pressuring the quarterback pretty often. So I don't expect 17 a year, but take that number down a little bit. Yeah, 12 a year would be nice if you're the guy and you're one of the top guys. I don't know. Just the first one that jumps in my head.
It's weird. I was looking at that too while you guys were talking, and I don't know if it's recency bias that I'm looking at last year and that I was a little disappointed in how Danielle Hunter played, but he's only, like you said, he's 28, so that only puts him, about 2 years older than what Jared Allen was when he came to the Vikings, and I just don't know if Danielle Hunter has, like, that stretch of 7 to 10 years like Jared Allen had, where he was an elite top-tier pass rusher, that he was just wreaking havoc on opposing quarterbacks. I don't know if Danielle Hunter has that left in the tank. Now, I'm going to look like a total dipshit when Brian Flores makes Danielle Hunter look fantastic, and he's got like 14 sacks on the season for saying that. But I don't know. With the injury history that he has had, to me it seems like he's got 4 or 5 years of probably pretty darn good play left in him in the right system. And then I just don't know with him.
I laugh because I know exactly where you're saying and where you're going with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I hope
you can ring chase. You can do what Yannick Ngakoue is doing now. He's wanting to go to a convergence. He's not going to stay in the league too much longer. I mean, I get it. Try to have a staple. He's not worried about it, though. We talked about it in that space on Twitter earlier with Mike and Justin. Danielle Hunter's out like sumo wrestling right now. He could give a shit less. He's living his best life. So I'm like, good for you, dude. I'm all for it. Damon, you make great points, man. You're having a great conversation with us. We appreciate it. And all guys.
Now, Danielle is one of the players not attending OTAs at the moment, correct?
Correct.
I believe so.
Hunter, Cook, and Jefferson, I think, are the big three that are not at OTAs right now. Now, they're voluntary, right. So how much do you really care about guys not showing up for a voluntary period? I mean, do any of us think that Justin Jefferson is going to show up looking like 40 pounds overweight?
No, I'm not expecting a Justin Jefferson holdout or anything like that.
Yeah. And Eddie Lacy, thank you. That's a good callback right there. Is he gonna show up looking like Eddie Lacy at training camp?
Was it
somebody? You know what I really love? I love China food too. Eddie Lacy knew what he was talking about.
Kelvin Benjamin, you're the Panthers wide receiver. I forget who it was. I think it was Booger McFarland said he's a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end.
He actually did move over to tight end for a while.
He was a big boy.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get to this comment, though, because this is great. I'd love to keep it, but I don't think we'll ever play poor enough to get a quarterback in the future, and we need that soon. It's a great point. I want to shift to the Kirk Cousins talk with this, because this is what the Vikings are going to do. I'm going to put my hand down, and I'm going to put it in the dirt, as they say, and I'm going to stick with this point. If Vikings – they're Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi are not here to tank. They're not going to do it. To Kyle's point earlier, this team's not going to tank.
Not intentionally.
No, not at all, unless everything just goes horribly wrong. But they're not going to intentionally lose games. They're going to be middle of the pack at worst, and I've accepted that with this team year in, year out, ownership, coach, players, whatever. It just seems to be where they are. They're pretty good, not great. they're going to have to give up assets to go get a quarterback. They could have done it this year. They didn't want what they liked, or they couldn't get an offer in that somebody else wanted to take. They're going to have to trade up because I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the top 3 picks. I just believe it. They have too many talented people, and it's a great coach. Is it next year? Do we, at the end of the season, are they going to fix Kirk again? And he's going to be like 36?
They could.
And that's a possibility.
Could have drafted Will Levis this year if they wanted him.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a point. I forgot about that.
There were a lot of Vikings fans and analysts pounding the table for him.
Not on this podcast. Any guy that puts mayonnaise in his coffee, you can be buried under the jail. I don't ever want to hear or see from you again, you freak show.
And, I mean, you never know how the chess pieces are going to lay out, too. I mean, here's a scenario that you brought up at the beginning of the show that fits right into this conversation. What if KJ Osborne has a pretty darn good season and wants to be a wide receiver number 2? And what if Jordan Addison also has a really solid season, and we're like, hey, we have a wealth of talent at the receiver position right now. We are going to flip KJ Osborne and help get us some ammunition to move up and draft a quarterback. That's a thing that could happen.
Well, not since Osborne's going to be a free agent after this season. I mean, they'd have to do a sign and trade like back in the old NBA days.
Right.
That's funny. That's a good throwback. Sergio says, I still believe Daniil Hunter is and can be elite, but he needs to be utilized the right way. Yeah, we're on agreement here. I don't ever want to see that dropping in coverage ever. Don't do that. That's the reason Donatel's one and done. So that's not something that Brian Flores is like, I can craft this. I would absolutely hate that. Damon said, I can't believe Jefferson isn't there. He has all the leverage and negotiation. It's not really about leverage or anything like that. They're going to take care of him. That's already assumed. It's just, I'm not looking too far into it, man. Neither are any of us. It's voluntary at the moment. Now, if he doesn't show up to training camp, that should probably tell you he's pissed off and he wants a deal. But
yeah, I don't know if his absence there is even related to his contract in a lot of ways.
I don't think so.
Let's be real. This kid's already on that level, and I'll say it. Maybe people don't like it because I'm comparing him to a player.
He's on that Adrian Peterson level of I'm not going to OTAs.
Yeah.
No, I was say Favre,
yeah.
but Favre's in the Hall of Fame, and he's kind of a shitbag. So I don't want to say that Jefferson's a shitbag, but the player is. Favre, he wanted to play to his feet, but he's like, I don't want to get hit, and I don't want to come to training camp. Well, dude, you're going to get hit. You got to come to training camp. I'm not worried about that with JJ. I'm not, like we were saying 5 minutes ago. He's not going to fall off the face of the earth with skill and his route running ability and stuff. I think it's not mandatory. He's probably enjoying his offseason. And for as young as he is, I mean, he could work in brands and all kinds of sponsorship stuff too. Like he could be making his money elsewhere. I mean, he doesn't have to be there yet.
By the way, let's talk a quick second about something that I have missed a lot heading up to this point. It is the Vikings Instagram videos and stuff like that of the players at camp. Whether it's the riddles that they read as they're coming off the field or the basketball hoop that they installed in the facility and watch Verdi and Lowe just throw those balls in there and make everything. I mean, it's been fun watching the Vikings social media just keep working hard to let us know and care about these players that we normally might not.
I particularly like Gabe Henderson, and I love that he does like the casual driving around in a golf cart. You get
the ride-around interviews are really cool.
Yeah. Pretty sweet, man. The social media team for this football team is very, very smart and very good. I like the angles in which they approach, present things. They've always done great with that. It's a good point, Adam. That's a good thing to bring up. Another thing to bring up, you guys talked about before we got on the show, forgot about it, wasn't even thinking about talking about it. Pat McAfee even talked about it, which is crazy. Pat McAfee's is larger than life now. Mentioned little old Minnesota Vikings on his show for about 30 seconds. The Vikings have completely paid off US Bank Stadium very, very early, which is pretty cool. Now, there were some other reports out there that you guys kind of have to think and use common sense for, like, well, there's maintenance and that costs millions of dollars. Like, yeah, it's a state-of-the-art facility. Of course, you're going to try to keep it that way. But their debt, 7 years in it'll be this season, and it's paid for. It's pretty cool.
For the residents of Minnesota, those taxes dropping off are going to be huge. I know a lot of them did not like paying a tax on a stadium that they're not fans of, even though it's not just a football stadium. I mean, look at the prices to go see Taylor Swift in there. Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. Thousands of dollars to go see that show.
Wasn't
That's a good point,
Metallica
Adam.
one of the first bands to play in the U.S.
They were.
Stadium after it opened up? I thought so.
For the Hardwired to Self-Destruct tour. That was fun. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. You host concerts, you can host other events. I mean, I'm thinking I don't think it was there, but maybe it was. I'm a big North Carolina fan because I'm from here. Our basketball team, the college team's very good.
They've done Final Fours there and the Super Bowl, and
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I have this background on standby, Adam.
Oh no.
The Metrodome with the roof collapsed because you know.
I am happy I got to watch a game there though.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
Me too.
I got to walk up to it and give it a hug before they demolished it, so that was fun.
To be perfectly honest, and I know there's no comparison between the Metrodome and US Bank Stadium, but the Metrodome wasn't that bad. I mean, it was a fun stadium to go to.
Dated.
It was, but I mean, it's not like it was. Yeah, I personally didn't leave feeling like I hate this. I regret going to the game.
Did you go to the bathroom while you were there?
It wasn't that level of bad. I did.
Pee in the trough, pig.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was fine until the roof collapsed.
Right.
I wish I could have someone who was there, for 30 whatever years, how many it was up, just tell me exactly how the hell that roof actually worked, because it had to do with airflow and like all this like wind power. It's the wildest thing I've never heard of any of that. But getting to watch the games, I mean, you guys know if you followed the show for a long time, I joined in with Brett Favre, joined in 2009. I didn't really have an allegiance to a team, so I picked this team. I voluntarily came to the show, guys, and that was crazy because I remember watching like the Adrian Peterson year there, and I'm like, dude, this place is going bananas. That Week 17 game against the Packers, I remember that whole game vividly from that stadium. So kind of cool. I still want to. We're just BSing at the moment, but I would love if I had the money to the side. I'm trying to sell a house right now, so I don't have any business looking at it. But you can buy Metrodome seats still on like eBay or whatever. I may snag those up one day. Kind of want those for my man cave.
Some of the painted ones or just the regular ones?
I guess when they were demoing it, they were just giving them out, for fans or whoever they come by. They put a.
Oh yeah, they were auctioning them off.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick to have.
I didn't have the money at the time to get a piece of US Bank Stadium, or not a piece of the Metrodome, but
I know some people did some really cool stuff, like you were talking about, Adam. When they first went up, you had people getting seat number 28 and doing something cool, like getting Peterson to sign it, or doing some kind of neat artwork on it, or whatever.
Let's see, what else?
We got a buddy in here trying to promote his little brother's music, which is kind of interesting.
There you go. If you can read that up there. Frosty Frisk on YouTube, my little brother. I'm trying to get some folks to check him out. Well, there you go.
We all got to get started somewhere. I mean, we've been doing this for many years, and we're still small. So we may not be the best people to blow your stuff up, but we got a nice core of regular listeners who are fantastic people.
Yeah, it took me 10 years.
The only reason I put it up immediately, I'm a musician myself. I was talking to the guys before we started about album art and my stuff on my debut this year. Like, I get it, man. All it takes is me saying words and making sounds.
The only reason you put it up right away is because his name is Winglewanus.
Winglewanus. That is a sweet name. What else do we have to talk about in Viking land? Oh, yeah, the tight end that retired. Didn't really have a major impact for the Vikings, but he was a part of the team, which, is it Ben Ellefson? Is that his name?
Yeah, he was an excellent blocker. They'd put him in extra blocker situations, and they found a lot of success with him there, especially against the Steelers back in the day.
I said on Twitter that that's actually kind of a rare skill set in the league today, finding a tight end that's a really good blocker.
You don't get a lot of respect these days. When people talk about great tight ends, they only think of the receiving tight ends.
Yeah, the flashy stats. And so I respected him for being that kind of old school throwback blocking tight end. He was good. It was, hit with the injury bug. That'll do a lot of players in. Is kind of, I think, ultimately what made him retire. But short career, we're thankful for his time in Minnesota. That's for sure. At least I am.
I don't know.
It does explain why the Vikings went out and got Josh Oliver, who is another very good blocking tight end.
Yep.
Does that mean we've seen the end of Johnny Munt? Because I particularly, as a fan of the Vikings, actually like Johnny Munt.
No, I think Johnny Munt is not only a favorite of Kevin O'Connell, but I think what he has to offer for the team is just he may not be an elite level tight end by any means, but you can get him out there and he can catch a pass, he can block, he'll do whatever you ask him to do, and he'll do it cheap, so that's a big bonus.
That's important. He's one of those nice role-playing guys. Like you need your role players out there on the team.
Not
everyone.
He's solid on special teams too, so it's like not only is he an offensive player that can help move the chains, whether he's blocking somebody that the offensive line's struggling to contain, or whether he's going out to catch a pass or in coverage on special teams. I mean, he can do a lot of stuff.
Wingle-Wandus. I can't wait to say that 5 more times on the show. We appreciate you. New follower, not already. Hey, you know what? All you gotta do is ask. That's it. Oh, so what else do we have in Viking? It's dead period, guys.
A couple signings. Waiting. Jordan Te'amu.
Oh, cool.
As well as the new wide receiver.
Yeah, the quarterback, he was Offensive Player of the Year in the XFL, put up some decent numbers for them. That's exciting, and I this is the first time in forever that we've seen the Vikings be proactive at the quarterback position. For so long it's been like, oh, we have our starter, or the person that we think is our starter, and
here's our backup that's never thrown an NFL touchdown.
Right, and we don't want any other competition at all. Just absolutely nothing. It's interesting to see them be like, hey, we know that Kirk is our starter and we like our backups, but we're also willing to draft players and sign this guy from the XFL that put up some really big numbers, and I like that. I like that.
I know it makes me think of PJ Walker from the Panthers. He came in when the quarterback carousel. They can play. I don't expect this signing of this quarterback to be anything as a threat to Kirk Cousins, but you never have too much depth. That's like last year. I know Adam made the perfect joke because we were talking about Sean Mannion, but thinking about Nick Mullins, an immediate upgrade. Why would you not try to get better there in case the worst thing in the world that happened? Be like, Kirk Cousins is carted off, like the guy who never gets injured is out indefinitely. Why not try to get a little bit more competitive to avoid that tank we were talking about? But that's cool.
I'm sitting on a season finale or missing a game because of COVID. I mean, I don't think Kirk Cousins missed a game other than those situations.
2 games in 5 years?
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I'm very good with that. Yeah, back to what we were saying before. It's a slow season, guys. Minicamp will be starting soon. We'll cover that. We'll tell you what we've seen on film. Just glad the rookies are getting their reps, and Kirk is there. He's throwing to I forget who 83. I think it's Jalen Naylor. Vikings put up a Twitter thing today about it.
Yeah, it looks really pretty good.
Looked pretty good, right? So we'll keep you posted on that.
At stage in his career, I would hope that Kirk Cousins in gym shorts and a jersey with no pass rush could make a really good throw like that. Like, he should look that good.
But did he fly down to Florida this offseason to throw to receivers or not? Because if he didn't, then he's a piece of garbage.
I hope he doesn't, because down in Florida, there's one team that has quarterbacks that can't hit. They're battling air and they're losing. Did you see Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask and their throwing videos? They were real bad. Real bad.
All I know is that Kirk Cousins needs to go work out with Jameis Winston.
Oh God, that would be the premier YouTube video of the summer. I would love to see that. Jameis Winston, never change, dude. You are hilarious. Oh my God. That camp he has around him to get him ready in shape is so funny. It's the most off the wall stuff I've ever seen. Yeah, we'll keep you posted. I don't really have anything else. Like I said, we covered the Dalvin Cook stuff. If anything happens, Kyle made a joke before the show, many moons ago on this show before I joined. They had made this big proclamation about Greg Jennings and blah, blah, blah. And the day he left and went somewhere else. So I'm sure we'll get Dalvin Cook news tomorrow.
By the time we could upload the episode, the Vikings had cut Greg Jennings.
That's so funny.
We spent a whole segment talking about how he's still a valuable member of the Vikings, and he can bring a lot to this team still.
Yeah, it was not great.
It happens. Whatever.
But this is back when we used to just record a Skype call and we didn't go live and chat with everybody. Yeah. So I don't feel like this would be a wasted show no matter what, with the people that join us in chat and just us sitting around talking of football. I miss this, man.
Yeah, we love the interaction from everyone in the chat and everyone who's going to listen to it on replay on whatever platform it is.
iTunes, listen to Ariana Grande Sports or the Shipyard Cat.
Yeah.
We took a couple of weeks to chill, and I'll take part of the blame for that. I'm selling a house. I'm working like crazy. Guys, I don't know what happened. I booked 6 shows before I leave in like 40 days. So I just got a bunch of stuff going on, but in all honesty, slacking a little bit because there just hasn't been anything really major to cover. And
when you are performing, do you get any underwear or bras thrown at you?
No, I get a lot of song requests, which is really annoying because I'm like, I'm not a DJ. Just listen to what I have to play every time. Free bird every time. Or I'll give you 20 if you play this. I'm like, no, what I'll do is I set it up because I pride myself on this. This is a weird setup, but thank you. I'm validating myself on this, Kyle, through you. I've watched so much stand-up comedy in the last 6 years. I've seen on the very base level how to set up or ask something to be funny. I'm always looking at something that's funny. The funny in a situation, right? So somebody say, free bird, and I'll be like, everybody yells free bird. But nobody ever asked for, like, Simple Man. They had other good songs. People are like, Simple Man. I'm like, I'm not fucking playing that song either. Or I'll start playing the beginning to Simple Man. And right when I'm going to start that one first line, like, I'm not playing that song for you.
Nobody tells DJ request what to play.
They'll come up and they'll be like, hey, here's a 20 if you play this. I'm like, keep your 20. Just listen to what I have next. I'm sure you'll love it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, just wait till the next song.
Yeah, just stick around till the end and see which one you like best. No, yeah, there wasn't a lot on the series. There wasn't a lot going on. And what I love about you guys, the show that we've done for many years now, is we're not going to hit you with 7 YouTube videos a week. It's just not our formula.
No.
That works well for some other people, and I'm not hating on them specifically. But for the 3 of us, we have jobs, and we just don't want to just make a video to make one. We had a great conversation with new names, might I add. Damon, Wigglewatus, and who else is up here to start? Austin. I think you guys are great. Sergio's a regular in the chat. We appreciate you because –
could you guys imagine getting the news that the Vikings signed an XFL quarterback and just rushing to create a minute-and-a-half video about it?
Now, for you, since you write and you have a not direct affiliate, you're not hired by the Vikings, but you make money talking about the Vikings. If that's what we needed and we could do to help you make money, absolutely. But we don't. That's not our shtick. And I'm glad it's not, because it after a while I feel like you'd lose the juice for that. Like, I don't know how Pat McAfee talks about sports for 3 hours every day. It's beyond me. We do an hour of this a week, and I'm like, oof, man, we covered a lot of ground that week.
I'm old and boring. I don't have enough hot takes to do a video every single day.
I'm not snarky enough to be popular.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. We give it to you straight here. It's pretty cut and dry for the most part, but we have fun. And I love that we had a lot of engagement in the chat tonight, man. Thank you, guys.
And to get back to the Vikings real quick here, too, I do think we're going to see movement on Dalvin Cook probably by this time next week. So by next Friday, I think that one way or another, we're going to have we're going to have news on Dalvin Cook, because you're right, Smith. I don't see them wanting to drag this out and have it be a weird kind of lingering issue, because the media is going to be asking shortly at every press conference, well, what's going on with Dalvin Cook?
Did we talk about the rule changes at the owners' meeting in Minneapolis?
You talking about like the kickoff?
Yeah, the kickoff and the quarterback roster spot.
We did not, but that's a good thing to bring up to end the show with. One of the rules I like, one of them I dislike. Can you guess which?
It's hilarious. I don't know the specifics. I'll let you guys talk about the kickoff, because it doesn't have anything to do with punts. It's just kickoffs. Isn't it? Refresh it. I'm trying to refresh it, so if it's wrong, let me know. If the kickoff ends up with a fair catch, and what is it? From the 1 to the...
Like what, the 1 to the 25?
I don't know if it's 20 to 25, but you can fair catch a kickoff and get it there.
Basically, there's essentially no reason to return a kickoff unless you're in total desperation mode.
Yeah.
Right? Why would you? Otherwise, why would you?
Cordero still would have taken it out of the end zone.
Well, yeah.
And I would let him to be the record. Wes, thank you for listening. He said he was listening while he was walking the dog. That's great, dude. We appreciate you. Another regular from the show. Much appreciated.
Yeah, it's nice that teams are going to be able to keep an emergency quarterback on their roster heading into games, and they don't have to declare them inactive. Because I guess...
Oh, I think we lost Adam. We
almost the first time that we'd have... Yeah, the first time he had blanked out for a second. That's hilarious. That sucked. We'll keep Adam ready to go whenever.
Oh, hey, there you came back.
I am here.
Yeah. Oh, you froze for a bit.
Oh, yeah, I warned you guys about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it finally happened. Then almost an hour in.
But yeah, the 49ers were having those quarterback problems real bad, so that sparked the league to allow that third quarterback to be on the roster and not count as a roster spot heading into the game. Because the NFL still has that weird inactive rule for some reason.
Yeah, this quarterback rule is, in my opinion, one step closer to, hey, you have 53 men on your roster, why not just allow all 53 to be dressed on game day? We don't need to arbitrarily set it down lower here, folks.
West has always felt strongly about this.
I really do.
I'm with you, man. I'd like to hear the justification on, because we make such a big deal, right? Like, anything in the NFL is going to be talked about and televised now because everything is recorded and put on the internet and all that. But make a big deal about downsizing the roster from 90 to 53 or whatever at the end of the year.
So
well, if you have to dwindle it down that far, why can't they not all just be ready?
I hate this rule so much, I looked it up to figure out why the frick it's even on the books to begin with. It goes all the way back to the early days in the NFL when they were afraid that big market teams like the Dallas Cowboys would be able to field a roster that was so much better than a small market team that we have to limit the number of players that you can put, that you can dress to be active on game day. Otherwise, you could, the Cowboy, and I'm just using the Cowboys as an example, you can stack your roster because you can afford to pay bigger players and attract bigger stars, and so it was a competition thing. That makes sense when it's 1974.
2 words. Salary cap.
We have this thing called a salary cap in free agency now.
That moots all of that. That's crazy.
Yes. But it's the NFL, and it's a legacy rule, and we just don't pay attention to these things, really.
Such American shit, like totally around the whole country. We got all these old people in office that keep these stupid rules and laws. The NFL is that's such an American thing the NFL is doing. Don't do that. Be better.
That's why I've always said that, like, if you're going to add a new rule to the league, you need to go back and revisit an old rule and, like, either remove it or update it to where it reflects it. That way you're forcing yourself as a league to always go back and look at the rule book instead of just continually adding more shit to it.
Let's take one quick moment before we sign off to be thankful that the Minnesota Vikings have never had problems with the name Vikings, especially since Washington might be looking for another name now that their Commander's trademark has been denied.
Do you think they... Conspiracy theory. Did it really get denied, or did the new ownership be like, hey, here's some under the table money, let's deny it because everyone hates the name Commanders, and let's actually change it to something
The
good
only reason I would
this time.
fight you on that one, Kyle, and I'm not even fighting you on it, but for these guys to be millionaires and potentially billionaires, they are a bunch of cheap asses. They won't. There's NFL teams that pay for their meals and they don't have like coffee in the break room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading some of that stuff
highly
about the
doubt
Cardinals charging their team for bottled water and stuff like that.
For bottled water, and then like what I was talking about McAfee earlier, like Pac-Man Jones is there and he'll tell you how it is. He'll tell you how shitty the Cincinnati Bengals facility was. It's amazing. It's like, now that they have a star quarterback and they went to a Super Bowl recently, it's like, we should probably fix this. Like, yeah, no wonder nobody wants to come here. Crazy. But yeah, I'll let you guys do the sign off. Thank you guys in the chat. We appreciate you. We'll be back soon. We won't take a big gap like we did this time, 2 weeks. We'll try to get when there's breaking news to talk about it.
One thing I absolutely love is when we look into live chat and we can see people on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch, seeing everybody from all these different locations where we live stream. Mm-hmm. It's always fantastic to see. So thank you to all you guys who stopped in, and if you said hi, if you could give us a like, that's cool. If you comment on something, that's fun too. If you subscribe to know when we go live, that's fantastic. I mean, all of that is optional, but we'd appreciate it if you did. And if you shared it with some of your friends or something. Make it a thing every once in a while. When we go live, you guys hop in the chat and we'll all talk football.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like that.
I'm going to pound the table on that because, when we go live, it'll send you a notification and you can jump right in from the beginning of the show, which some of you guys had to have had that on. It's Friday night at 10:30 on the East Coast right now. There's no way some of you are like, oh, I just randomly found you guys on Facebook here. No. Turn the like it, hit the notification bell. You'll know it's coming. And then that's it. It's free for you. It helps us out a ton, and it gets the engagement up. But most of all, you can be a part of the action. You put something up here, we'll talk about it. So we appreciate that. Let's do some plugs and get out of here. Adam Carlson, you are up, sir.
Once again, I want to thank everyone who joined us because I always have a good time talking to you. Hop on in here, and if you get a chance to support some of my work, I'm over on the Viking Age. I usually put out a couple of articles every week. This week I had a really interesting one about players who might be gone after this year who are pending free agents, and I got into some pretty bold takes that got some people talking in the comments, and people that don't quite agree with what I was trying to say. But I'm okay with that. A contrasting point of view ain't never going to scare me. But thank you to everybody who goes to the Viking Age and clicks on my articles, whether they comment or share it with their friends or put it on social media, or even if they just read the article once and close it. I appreciate all of that.
You can also follow Adam on the Twitter machine or Instagram for your daily
even
cat
TikTok,
updates.
I'm there. Instagram.
He is there. He is on the TikTok
I've been
too. I have to
putting a
check
couple
messages.
too many Instagram pictures of Bernie these days, so maybe I gotta slow down on that.
I'm there until I just slow down on Bernie pics. Kyle West, you're up next, bud.
Hey, you can check me out on Twitter at Vaguely Square. That also has links to my photography work and some of my other stuff, which you can check out. Like I always say, even if you don't want to buy anything, you can just take a look around and see what you got. You might like something. You can always share it on social media as well, too. That's always an important thing to do. That organic reach, as Adam knows, is always key for anything on social media.
For sure.
So, yep.
And it's always good to support artists, whether it's physical art or digital art. Like, I hate calling our podcast digital art, but that's kind of what it is.
That's a good thing you brought up there too, Adam. Everyone is so up in arms, and rightfully so, about like this AI generated artwork right now.
It's
And
scary for real artists at the moment.
It really is. And if you truly hate AI generated art, and I'm not even just talking about like my website or my photography, but find a local artist and support them. If you truly don't want to see AI generated bullshit out there, support your local artists, your local photographers or painters or graphic designer artists, whatever. Do that instead. Share their work.
I also brought up your website here for you guys that are listening. https://kylewest84.pfair.com. You can find Kyle's photography work there, which he has great photos. Nice rural photos you have in Iowa in your town. Like, I love those, are my favorite. But you can also get Purple People Podcast merch. And I stopped being a shitbag, guys. I got the out to our Survivor League winner, and he got it this week. Sorry it took so damn long. I forgot about you, but I made it up for him by also throwing in a shirt. So he got a shirt and a hoodie for winning the Survivor League. And he paid absolutely nothing for that. That was all for me and the guys here at the show. So that's where we got it from. Purple People Podcast merch. The website below.
I didn't know if Bernie was going to say hi or not, but he just swung in.
Love that. If you want to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that fun stuff, my name's Kyle Smith. It's at NC Dog Dude, like North Carolina Dog Dude. Counting down the days. I've got plenty of shows. If you go to my Instagram, it is public. If you're in the North Carolina area, I have a show tomorrow and then all throughout the month of June, pretty much every weekend and some weeknights. So come listen to some tunes if you'd like. If there's anybody out here still watching and you're in the Richmond, Virginia area, I will be moving there. That will be my final stop, thank God, because I'm tired of moving.
Emphasis on the rich.
The Mond. Emphasis on the Mond. Kellen Mond.
Oh, no.
Brought it back. So that's called journalism, boys.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah,
really?
No, it's not. That's what, if that's journalism and that's what the show is, we are doing terrible. Well, with that, that's all I got. Adam is going to sign us off.
We had a lot of fun. I don't know when we'll be back, but hopefully it'll be within a week or so. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter, but it's always when we can work it out on our schedule. And we typically, so far, have always come back after a previous show. So I hope to keep that streak going. So in the meantime, enjoy the Minnesota Vikings news, and hopefully we'll see you back here in the future. Stay classy, Minnesota.